Hey, how about them tops, son?
All day, SEC boys. SEC, they supposed to be SEC. Crazy all day, baby.
You're listening to the RedOUT Podcast.
So like a lot of you, I get those annoying phone calls, the Medicare, Medicaid. But the real wake-up call for me was when I ordered 2 computers from Amazon. But I didn't order 2 computers from Amazon, you say. Oh, somebody else did. Yeah, that was a close call for me. I realized that my personal information was out there, and I was vulnerable. But how are so many people able to get a hold of my information? One reason might be irresponsible companies. For example, AT&T revealed that over 73 million customer records, both former and existing, were exposed on the dark web. They recommended those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. That's a lot of work for us to do because one company couldn't keep their data safe. This is why I use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura does all of this for me, and best of all, it's all in one app. If my info was compromised in the AT&T data breach, I wouldn't worry because Aura would already be protecting me. Don't sacrifice your privacy because it's a chore to keep up with it. Aura makes it easy. Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping my information safe. I value my privacy, and so should you. You guys should check out Aura. You can go to aura.com/RedOut, or that link is in the description below to start your free trial. Thanks to Aura for sponsoring today's video. And let's get back to that Hilltopper action.
How's it going, guys? In case you don't know, it's been a couple weeks. You may have forgotten who we are. My name's Devin. This is Matt. It's part of the RedOUT Podcast. We want to thank our sponsors, Aura, for sponsoring this episode. And life has happened to Matt and I. And between work and family things, it's just gotten crazy. So we just want to start off by saying thank you for being patient with us. And we are back for another episode, and we plan to be back next week. So, you know, however things go,
normal.
Yes,
Maybe.
Hopefully a normal schedule. Hopefully things can kind of be more routine right before the holiday season. So I hope you all had a happy holidays. I hope you're happy and everything's going well for you. Whether it was election results or just life in general, I hope you're having a nice day. Speaking of nice days,
politics.
Yeah, let's not. I don't need to scare on average half our viewers away. So, but speaking of happy, volleyball has been doing really well. They have the last we spoke. Volleyball played La Tech. They swept them on the 19th. On the 25th, they played UTEP, beat them 3-1. The 26th, they beat UTEP again, 3-2. And then they beat on the November 1st, they beat New Mexico State 11-1 or 3-0. Sorry, I was reading the date. And then on the 2nd, they swept New Mexico State again, beating them as well. And then they will be playing Sam Houston on the 8th of November and the 9th. And I don't have times in front of me, but I'll try and have those up in the show notes. But we'll jump into women's basketball real quick. We started regular season play. Matt, I know Western beat Indiana State 71-59. The former alum of Larry Bird. What did you go to the game or did you watch, and what were your thoughts?
No, it was at Indiana State, so no, I wasn't there.
What's Terre Haute, Matt? What? It's not that far. It's like what, 8 hours from here?
No, I was at the men's game at home. I thought that was much more practical.
Okay,
but
I was for equality, but sure, yeah, whatever.
We're just getting controversial. Why don't we go back to politics? Maybe get less controversial. But no. Anyway, no. The girls actually played pretty well. They got in a hole early there. We're down a little bit, but turned it on when they needed to. Indiana State last year was not very good. I think they were 11-21. So at first you kind of start. I wasn't listening or anything. I was at the men's game, but you can kind of have an idea of how it's going. And down, it's like, oh crap, this is could not.
Here we go. so to speak, right?
Yeah, right. Like last year was not the best year. They definitely underachieved, things like that. But they ended up turning it on. One noteworthy thing that happened, first of all, is they ended up winning by double digits after being down. So good response and everything. Also, Alexis Mead had some kind of like cut on her eyebrow or something, had some stitches. So she didn't really play well at all. And WKU ended up winning by double digits. Another little thing that was actually tied a program record was Acacia Hayes had 10 steals in one game,
Wow.
which is incredible. That's like impossible to do, but she did it and did a really good job. And it's exciting to see someone setting a program record or tying a program record. So good signs from the Lady Tops. I still think they've got some work to do. They kind of have come out slow so far early on and then kind of turned it on after that. They got some potential though. They got some big bodies and some people that can play, and hopefully they can find some offense consistently. I think that's going to be one of the big keys. But they've got this girl, Sofia Telegdi. I'm not sure exactly how to say her last name yet. But she is I think she's from Hungary. And she's really, really been good the first couple of games, getting, close to 20-ish points a game or so. And she's a brand new player. So kind of excited to see how she goes and some other really good pieces that we've added in. So I think they have the players to be able to be pretty competitive in Conference USA, but they've got to kind of pull it all together and come up with some offense.
Yeah, Zofia looks she's 6'3", a junior for junior forward at Western from Budapest. So very cool. Yeah. Not to get, weird, but she's not what I pictured somebody from Hungary looking like. She's blonde, 6'3". Like I would said, like that's like an Aryan person. We're gonna get canceled. YouTube's gonna drop us like less.
We're bringing up Aryans and women's rights.
Yeah, Trump train. Now we're off the air. We're done. They're just gonna go black screen and they're not gonna show anything else.
Been a good run.
Yeah, it's been a good run. It's lasted. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try and say her last name until I hear like Randy Lee say it or something. I'm gonna be like completely shot. But yeah, they're gonna be playing Kentucky State next on the 9th at 5 p.m. and I believe that one is at home. And then we've got the men playing Grand Canyon University at 8 p.m. on the 9th. And then the Lady Tops are going to be playing Mercer on the 12th at 7 p.m. And the men's will be playing Campbellsville at home on the 12th at 8 p.m. So, but we're going to talk about men's basketball here in just a second. But I will say the new Apple Scores app or whatever is freaking awesome for keeping up with stuff in the moment. Because I was getting updates on the women's game the other night, actually, and it allowed me to keep up with the women's game and the men's game kind of not consecutively, but at least I could go, it's the end of the first, they're behind, and it's like, well, is Indiana State playing that well? And then I could kind of check, and I was like, after halftime, they did pull away and started doing really well. So it was like, okay, these girls are late chargers or, finally kicking in, or maybe it was a change of scheme or something. I don't know. But they're really well, and we hope they continue to do well on into the rest of the season.
I'd be remiss not to mention also Mackenzie Chatfield. I think she's from New Zealand. She's either Australian or New Zealand. I think she's New Zealand. Really had a nice game and has had a couple of nice games to start the year. So nice to see her blossom and kind of take Alexis's role for a game and make some things happen. I think she had 20 something points and looked really, really solid.
Crikey.
Good day, you sycamores.
I gotta offend people all over the world today. So evidently. So yeah, I mean, I love it. I love to see Western having players from, obviously we've got players from Egypt, we got people from New Zealand, Hungary, Senegal, Florida. I mean, crazy places like Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Yeah, that fits with all the other ones too.
It's kind of cool to see the diversity in, especially with the Lady Topper basketball. You know, as long as they're doing well and performing well, I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Third world countries like Murfreesboro.
In Jonesboro, Arkansas.
That's true. Been there.
So Kentucky State, do you think it's going to be a challenge for the Lady Tops, or is it a good test for them, or is this just something for them to kind of just go have fun and play basketball and just come home with a victory, or be at home with a victory?
Hopefully it's just a routine Division II opponent. You blow them out and feel good about it. Against Lee University in the exhibition, they struggled for 15 minutes or so. So hopefully they'll just kind of pick it up and do their thing, click a few things into place, and get ready for Mercer in 3 days after. So we shall see. But yeah, it should be pretty routine.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I agree. So men's basketball. The men's basketball played Wichita State and lost 91-84. As I mentioned a minute ago, they're going to play Grand Canyon on the 9th, which is in 2 days as this episode releases. And then they've got Campbellsville next Tuesday. And both those games are going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Matt, what did you think of the Wichita State game, since you chose men over women? Go ahead.
Yeah, shocker, if you will. Anyway, honestly, like, and the UAB game too, which was the exhibition. I mean, it's clear that we're going to be able to score. We have some good pieces. Babacar Fi, I guess is how they're saying his name now. They had this big discussion anyway. His name is Babacar Fi. But anyway, he's averaging 24 points per game in the first 2 games. Obviously, one doesn't technically count, but he scored 20 in the first game, 28 in this one, and he had 20 or 21 by halftime. I mean, he's really cooking and producing down low. The problem is they didn't really have any help. They had Don McHenry, who I think he had 21, 22. I have to look at the exact numbers, but he scored in the 20s, but he took like 18 shots to do it. So it wasn't as efficient. And then there was a big drop off. You've got a young freshman, Julius Stepford, that is doing a good job. It seems like a pretty clutch player for such a young guy. He came in the second half and scored 11. All 11 of his points came in the second half, and made a big shot to kind of get WKU back in it. The Tops were down. They were down 10, I think, and he made a 3, and then he went and drew some fouls and stuff like that. Tops ended up coming back within 3, I believe. Yeah, it was 3 with like 25 seconds left, and weren't able to pull any closer. Fouled, and they made their free throws, kind of thing. But it was about what I was thinking. Before the game, I did pick Western to lose by a few points, and that's what happened. It's not an alarm bell type of scenario. It's not time to freak out. They've got some work to do. They definitely need to pick up on defense. They need to find some kind of way to have presence down low besides Babacar, because they really, against both teams, they were huge and physical. And Western got dominated down low, especially defensively. And of course, Blaze Keita, who's a newcomer, he had, I think it was a bone bruise, and he wasn't able to play. So may not be a huge deal, but he also has a history of injury. So hopefully he's kind of the biggest body on the whole team. If you miss him on a team that's already kind of undersized, you've got some problems. So Western definitely needs to find some kind of down low presence defensively, especially. And that's what Keita and Odiahi are supposed to do. But so far they haven't been super effective in doing that yet. And I think that's where Western could struggle this year. But they have a really good core. They have lots of guards that can play. They have some guys that can shoot, although they haven't shot great the first couple games. So we'll see how it ends up going. But I'm not discouraged. The crowd showed up for this game. It was good to see, and they got engaged, and it was like 4,500 people, so decent. I think, frankly, they deserve more, having just been to the tournament the first time in 11 years. And I was really disappointed in the exhibition crowd, which was a charity game, and even if it's just for the charity, it's a shame that they didn't have more of an attendance just to raise some money for Boys and Girls Club. But I hope the crowd comes out and supports the Tops.
Yeah, I mean, it's a local team. You don't have to drive anywhere. It's right in your backyard. Support the Tops. You don't have to drive 3 or 4 hours away just to go watch a game in an uncomfortable place. Sorry about that. But anyway, is it just funny to me that we have a guy on the team named Christian Lander? Wasn't that a good guy that played at Duke? You don't remember? Leitner. I'm sorry. Yeah, because he
You
was
can tell Devin's a football guy.
years back. What'd you say?
Said you can tell Devin's a football guy.
Yeah. I don't know anything. I was actually looking at where all the guys were from, and I didn't realize that we have another Senegal. Babacar is from Senegal, just like the other girl that played the girls.
So,
Yeah. Actually, we have 2 people from Senegal, so that's kind of cool. Diagny is from. I screwed his name all up. What's it? It's freaking senior. Falou.
Dujan.
Dujan.
Falou. Jean.
Okay, Falujan. That sounds like Fallujah, dude.
John.
All right, Falujan. Yes, he's from Senegal as well. So Dakar, Senegal. And then we got people from like Dry Ridge, Kentucky. Like this feels like such an interesting melting pot of basketball for me. Yeah. And then Bowling Green. They're just lucky they don't have somebody from Scottsville. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the big six walk on.
Probably
White guy.
yeah, because we don't have any.
He brings toughness.
Do I?
He brings toughness, and he knows how to party.
And then we got somebody from Ireland. Pass me the ball, boyo. I'm tired of sitting over here by myself. Thought that was pretty good Irish accent. Thank you very much. I think from what a lot of us the guys were talking about was at least for the Wichita State game, it looked like there was just a couple pieces missing. Maybe there's just a little bit more development that needs to be done. And I think that's a good observation. I think that's a safe observation. And for the first regular season game, it's a positive observation for the boys to see that there is somewhere to build towards. And are they going to go into the tournament this year? I don't know. It's too early to tell. We'll just have to see how things pull out, how things work out. And, maybe by, conference time, we can at least have something to pinpoint and say, we've got a good chance to go, or, we'll have to see how this plays out. So
They all know how to pull out.
Yes, hopefully they do. You should always be protected around the goal. Just saying, accidents happen. We don't need anybody getting too many fouls. Just saying. So football, thank God. Let's talk football before I start trying to use more innuendos. So the last we talked, we were pre-gaming for Sam Houston, which was a few weeks ago. And I don't even remember what scores we had predicted, but Western ended up winning 31-14. I did make a little money off that game because I did put some money on it. I did the money line and the under and made, I think I made like $50. So not too bad. And then of course, Kennesaw State, I did not put money on. Honestly, I didn't put any money on it because I wasn't for sure if we would go over. And I think points was like 20 something points or something like that. We were supposed to, I think, which was similar to like Liberty. Speaking of with Liberty, but we'll talk about that in just a second. But I did not put any money on that game, but I think Western looked good in both matchups. Personally, I think they pulled the big dogs towards the second half, but that's just my opinion. Once Western pulled away, they were like, let's chill out. What were your thoughts, Matt?
That last point, yeah, I think they did back off a little, and they also hopefully learned their lesson because River Helms did not get to play because he was in with 17 points, up 17 points with like 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in Sam Houston, and he's got a shoulder injury now, stupidly leaving in the entire starting lineup up 3 scores with the ball way late in the game. But anyway, so a little side note / dig. But anyway, overall, I mean, you have to be thrilled with how this has gone so far. I mean, yes, the score wasn't as pretty, 31-14 against a team that has 1 win. But I honestly think that Kennesaw State's playing way better football than they were. And they're also a respectable defense, especially for a team that only has 1 win. They actually have a decent defense. Their offense is just atrocious. It's kind of like Sam Houston last year, who had this great defense and absolutely horrible offense. It's the same situation, basically. And I think their defense is not as good as Sam Houston's was, but their offense is a little more capable than Sam was last year. So, very dangerous team. They just beat Liberty. Coming off of that win, they're feeling great. They're also, I talk about this some like that kind of dangerous 6-loss team that's kind of desperate to not lose bowl eligibility. As unrealistic as it sounds to everyone else, that whole locker room's thinking like, we're going to go to a bowl game. We just got to win this one, and, got to stay alive and whatever. And so they play desperate. And I thought they played fairly well. And Western seems to continue to have things that they can improve on every single game, even though they're winning very easily, frankly. Game was 31-7. It was 24-7 at halftime. And obviously the Tops give up a late touchdown, but I mean, you have to be pretty pleased with where Western's at. And now you look at the standings. Tops are 4-0. Jacksonville State's 4-0. You play Jacksonville State at the end of the year. Everyone else has at least 1 loss, and the team that's closest to you beat and have a tiebreaker. So really, don't screw up down the stretch. Hopefully find a way to sweep through this and host the conference championship game, probably against Jacksonville State. And let's see if we can get us a ring, because Western really doesn't have a significant weakness this year. Offense is good enough. Defense is really good. Special teams is very good as well. So I'm feeling pretty confident about where they're going, and it's a tough stretch to end the year. I think this game against New Mexico State is sneaky tough, and we'll see. But you got to feel pretty good about where they are right now.
I think, and not as someone who's not watched a lot of New Mexico State, I think that New Mexico State is a game that could be a Liberty versus Kennesaw State game for us. You don't overlook your opponent. Do not look to the next week. Do not look to Liberty or Jackson State. You've got to finish this week, beat them, and then let's move on to the next week. And play the best football you can. And on the flip side, we have to have coaches who are making smart decisions with players. Honestly, you go up 3 scores, we need to start putting it in second string, third string, whatever, just to kind of, and I mean, if then they score, then you can go back to first string or whatever. But, we've got to at least preserve these guys a little bit so that we don't have any issues going into, into bowl season. I mean, or even, the later part of the season with Liberty and Jack State. Those are the last 2 games are the most concerning for me, with La Tech sitting at 2-3 in conference. I don't know who all they've played, but New Mexico State and La Tech here. I'm going to pull these up real quick just because I want to see. Let's see.
Well, I'll say this about New Mexico State while you're pulling that up. You might look at New Mexico State and say, "Oh, they're whatever. They're 2-6 or whatever." But here's the thing: at home, they're much better. They've had close games. The biggest loss they've had at home is 10 points. So every game they've had has been competitive. So if you're thinking that Western's just going to come in and blow them out 45-3 and walk out of there and look like world beaters, maybe that happens, but that's going to break a trend from this whole season. They're pretty good at home. You're also dealing with the altitude. I think it's 4,000 or 5,000 feet above sea level and in Las Cruces. So that's a factor. Hopefully it doesn't affect you too much, but it's a factor.
It definitely will. I mean, at that height or at that elevation, you've got to think it's a different level of oxygen. It's kind of like the Mile High City, so to speak, because you've got to breathe harder to get more oxygen. You're going to get tired faster. It's going to be harder to move, the uric acid out of your body. There's a lot of things. There's a lot more advantages to exercising in that elevation and then coming down to Bowling Green, so to speak, coming down to the good old farmland down here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. But talking about as far as records are concerned, New Mexico State lost last week to FIU 34-13, and they beat La Tech 33-30 in 2 overtimes. So that's fun. They lost
at home.
Yeah, and like you said,
home and road is completely different.
And then they played Jacksonville State the week before that at Jacksonville State and lost 54-13. So, this isn't a team that you look over for sure. Don't get me wrong, but this is also a team that I don't know.
Shouldn't be losing to either.
The odds for this game have the spread at 18 for favoring Western, and the over-under is 52.5 points. Western's money line is -1,000, and they're giving New Mexico State +600. So not really a game I would recommend betting on unless you parlayed it with something else. But
I consider taking NMSU +18. I think it could be a closer game than 18. WKU has played well against its last 2 opponents and only won by 17. Also, NMSU has not lost a game by more than 10 at home. So I think whatever it is, 18 it could be a little inflated, and it could be. I mean, I'm not saying bet your house on it because it certainly is not out of the realm possibility Western just blows them out. But I could see a closer game, maybe a couple scores.
But it is a -110, so you're not really getting paid out for it. But if you parlayed it with, say, it's something else, I don't even know.
There's not a lot of good ones there.
Like men's basketball has Grand Canyon. I can't imagine the money line on that being very good. But this could be a very interesting game. And I will say, I don't know what Western's record against the spread is, but to me at least, I feel like Tyson Helton always goes under. If the spread is 20, he's not scoring 20 points. He pulls the guys back way before we get to 20. And that's just a personal opinion. At least my observations, but that's just my thoughts on, at least for Western side of things. Now, La Tech, let's see who they've played. They played Sam Houston and lost 9-3. That is a weird score.
It was ugly.
I was gonna say that's 3 field goals, and La Tech got a field goal or it's a touchdown.
Yeah. It was like 6 total turnovers. I think Sam Houston forced 4. La Tech forced a couple. Sam Houston has had quarterback troubles, had some injuries and stuff. So their other guy is definitely not as good. And then La Tech is extremely inconsistent. So it's hard to know what La Tech you're going to get.
Yeah.
Sometimes they look elite on one side of the ball, and then they'll be terrible.
Yeah.
So,
so it looks like they played Middle. They beat them 48-21, which I don't have that score in front of me. I know we beat Middle 49-21, so that's a pretty even score there, or at least an observation. That's two people. That's the same team we've played, and it was like a week or so apart. Looks like. Well, we played them in September. Yeah, it was the third week of September, and they played them on the 10th of October. So, not too bad. But go ahead.
Say it kind of, we're bringing down La Tech. I mean, I'd say they seem to struggle a little bit on offense. They had that one game that they kind of busted out against Middle, but
Yeah.
every other game is 30 or less points, and most of them are in the teens or maybe low 20s.
Yeah. I mean, and everything we're looking at says that with their win over UTEP was 14-10. The loss to Sam Houston was 3. The loss to New Mexico State was 30. The only, like you said, the only real kind of blowout was Middle Tennessee with 48. And then FIU, they lost, but they only scored 10 points there. So whether their offense is struggling to find a foothold or whatever it is, or maybe their defense, I don't know. But something's up here with La Tech. La Tech, to me, has always been a tricky bunch. They've always been rival potential. Like, I don't like them. And it's nothing personal. They're just kind of, they give off that vibe of just yeah.
I'll tell you something. Going down the list is even
Yeah,
that's
not a show at all. Luckily that you will not have to drive for this game. When we play La Tech, it will be at home. Are you going to be able to go to New Mexico with them?
Devin. I had plans, but things fell through.
Yeah, you're probably going to be
hard bounced is what happened, to be honest.
Yeah, I've got a
Otherwise,
White House to receive an award, so it's not a big deal. I understand. You can't make them all, when you're on the podcast all the time.
White House, Tennessee.
Yeah, not the White House in Washington. No.
Yes. It sounds more your level.
I was going to make a joke earlier in the podcast that, if it wasn't for the election, we were going to try and get Trump on, but, since he's doing all the podcasts, I don't see how he missed RedOUT. I don't get that whatsoever. He did Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn. RedOUT sounds like the next obvious.
We had him scheduled last week right before the election, but we had a conflict.
That's what it was. Yeah. We canceled on Trump.
That's correct.
So just to recap real quick here. I guess we really didn't mean to, but we've kind of ended up with just a shorter episode this week. But girls, women's volleyball, or obviously volleyball, is going to be playing Sam Houston on the 8th and 9th. And I'll have to get those. I'll post the infographic with those times and stuff on there. And if it's at Sam Houston or if it's here in Bowling Green. And then women's Lady Tops is going to be playing Kentucky State on the 9th and Mercer on the 12th. And those times will be posted as well. And then men's basketball is going to be playing Grand Canyon University and Campbellsville on the 9th and the 12th, both of those at 8 p.m. And then Western football is going to be playing on the 9th at 6 p.m. at New Mexico State. If you can go and support the Tops, let me see if I can find where that game is going to be played. If it's going to be on. It's on ESPN Plus. So that game's going to be on ESPN Plus. So if you're like us and you can't make that very short drive to New Mexico, which is like 78 hours or something, I don't even know. If you can't make that short drive or you don't have the money to fly or travel with the team, you know, you can
Like
watch it.
21 and a half, I think.
Do what?
It's not even a day. It's like 21 and a half.
Oh, is it like 21? Okay, I'll take your word for it.
It's like 22 or 23 from Nashville.
I know you have to drive through. Let's see. I'm gonna Google it just to see because I'm curious.
Through El Paso.
State directions. New Mexico State University from I'll put Bowling Green because from my location it's 21 hours. So
It's only 20.
okay, well, I mean, I figured it'd be 20-ish with between the two of us. Yeah, 20 hours and 37 minutes from Bowling Green, and you spend like 87 hours in Texas. So there's that.
Math checks out.
Yeah, math checks out. But you literally do. You go like the whole width of Texas, which is wild to me. You go from the
Ever done that drive?
ground side, the desert side of this.
You ever done that drive, Devin? It's thrilling.
Hell no, I have not.
The family in Albuquerque, we did it one time. My parents wanted to go like all the way through and not stay at a hotel. So we just stayed in the car for 23 hours or something to Albuquerque.
That was one of David's brighter ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I was 9, so I wasn't in position to really question.
No.
But in hindsight, why?
That was great. It was a great idea.
Yeah, brilliant.
About halfway through, your Game Boy probably ran out of batteries, and you were just like, "Are we there yet?" And it's just started the whole.
Yeah, like we just pulled into like Arkansas or something, and I'm asking about if we're there yet.
That's what my daughter does now, so it's all good. I understand. We'll be driving down the road, and she goes, "Are we there yet?" I'm like, "We're going 2 minutes away, lady. Quit it." Oh my gosh. But no, guys, we will be back next week. I just wanted to say thank you all for your patience, and I want to thank you all for sticking with us and help and supporting the podcast. It's because of our viewers and our patrons that we're able to do these episodes. So make sure to do the YouTube pleasantries, like, share, and subscribe. And leave us reviews on Apple. That always helps too. And if you would like, you can support us through Patreon. It helps us directly, or you can go to aura.com/RedOut, and that also supports us. And we're still partnering with betterhelp.com/RedOut as well. So you can check with them if you'd like some support there. I have been meaning to redo my ad read for BetterHelp, so we can kind of have a little variety because I don't like to have the same ad every week, but we'll be updating that whenever I get a chance. But I just want to say thank you all. We appreciate it. And check the Towel Rack for articles coming out. We're going to be doing some previews and stuff for different games and talking some more sports on there. But as always, guys, go Tops.
Tops, beat everybody out west.
Yeah.
Grand Canyon.